How you guys doing? Today's going to be another long video, but you enjoy these ones because it's to help you, obviously, on your Godforge quest to pick the best legendary that you want to pick on your account to start off with. Because as you guys know, the Godforge team did everyone a solid again and gave basically the remaining 21 heroes here for us all to look at. And obviously, in today's video, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be constantly going through each one of these heroes. And like I did in the previous video, I will obviously give you my thoughts, give my opinions. And at the end of each hero section, you will see obviously the full screen. Just if you want to take it for your pantheons to add it to the catalogs. But just remember one thing in today's video with all of the heroes that we're going to be going through, that everything is subject to change. You can see that at the very bottom, literally it doesn't change. It's just there, guys. It's literally just there. So we're going to be going through all of these heroes, and it's going to be a banger. So smash like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I can help you on your Godforge quests picking the correct legendary hero for your teams. So let's go into it. The very first one, Anubis, and Anubis is a absolute beast, I'm going to tell you, from Alpha Wave 1, 2, and 3. Some of the best players, and even myself, will tell you, this hero is not one, even if you pull it, you should be ignoring, because Anubis is a absolute campaign as well, like pushing monster, and that is because of the basic ability. Basic ability says Soul Guide, attack one enemy for 6% of your maximum HP, and then 60% of your attack for 2 times. If the enemy is defeated, you have a 75% chance, which increases to a 100% chance, to place the Despair buff. And just like before, guys, I know you're probably wondering what the hell is this buff. We're going to be using the #1 source, as you guys know, the Raven Pyros Gaming website, to help you on this journey. And the Despair one is a really easy thing to understand, and you can see why it's super powerful, because you get to skip the next turn, cannot receive any positive buffs or effects, and the duration is reduced when attempt to receive any positive buff or effect. So basically what Despair says, for anyone who's kind of like reading it or trying to understand it for the very first time, is for Anubis here, if he kills the unit and you have that 100% chance and you put Despair on all of the enemies, basically if it was about to be their turn, it just skips it. And that's just insane. Just the fact that you skip their turn is just disgusting. On top of this, if they go through their turn and then for some reason, let's just argument's sake, the hero gets to go off, well, all of the enemy's team, if they were going to receive like an attack up buff, you know, a defense up buff, radiance, you name it, any sort of positive buffs, it just doesn't apply. It just fizzles out. And to me, as a MTG player, I think many people understand when something fizzles out, it kind of feels good. So Despair is crazy. And what's really powerful about this, and just this ability, and why I'm trying to make so much emphasis on it, is the fact that it's a basic ability, meaning your Shamashers, your maybe Vivians technically, your Aphrodites, any hero that can force this hero, even with the Sun Wukong imprint to give you the 25% joint attacks, any form of joint attack with this hero allows him potentially to constantly Despair lock, as we name it, the enemy team. And this is so powerful going through campaigns. Even when we were going technically through the tower in the Alpha Wave 3, this was just absolutely disgusting to go against. And he is a brawler, meaning he kind of scales off as much HP as you want with some attack, which we did have kind of some cheat codes, as people will know, through the weapon choices that we had back in the Alpha Wave 3 experience, which we probably don't have this time, as we all know. But with those, though, you can see how powerful this hero can be. So don't overlook this basic ability. This is honestly kind of like his bread and butter. I'll be honest, this is what makes him disgusting in the game. Embalming Blast is your core. It is a 4-turn cooldown, goes to a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, 13% of your maximum HP, 85% attack as well, with a 75% chance to 100 when you fully sort the skill out, to place Corrupt and initiative down 2. And just like before, guys, don't you worry, we've got you covered on that, right? So initiative down 2 is the 20% there, right? So we've got that kind of covered on our side. But corrupt here, this is what's really powerful, because the unit that places this debuff steals any buffs received. So for example, with Anubis now, if we can understand what corrupt's doing, you can basically either despair lock the enemy down, and if they don't die through the despair lock, don't worry about it, because you've got your core ability. You can follow it up on the immediate turn if you want to, or on the first turn. It's actually so versatile, it's disgusting. And you can put the corrupt on, and let's just say their team consists of an Isis or whatever, and they're going to place men's and again precision buffs, whatever it were. Well, it's coming to you, and the fact that it's coming to you is just so powerful for kind of like this really cool way of being a tank, not a tank, but like trying to control the battle state through, you know, stealing debuffs. So honestly, a really powerful ability again, basic and core. Too much is your ultimate ability. It's 250 you can see it on the flag, 1,600 to actually cast it. Attack all enemies though, and this is what's really cool. If this hero's HP is below 50%, you heal the hero by 30% of the damage inflicted, which is a lot of healing, honestly. People were doing some ridiculous heals. But if this hero is above the 50%, you place a barrier on yourself for 30% of the damage inflicted. So either way, it is honestly such a good passive, where if you're in the thick of it and you're dying, guess what? Don't worry about it. We can heal back up, use our maybe supports that we've got to put mend on and heal back up too on top of that. And then when we get over that 50% barrier, we can go hit them again. Boom, we get a big barrier on top now, and then it makes our healer's job easier. So if you want my opinion already, if you guys want to go down a completely different route, I'm not saying this is going to be the easiest way, because there is going to be easier legendary heroes for new players and just for most of the players in the game to pick. But if you wanted to actually have a little bit of spiciness, you didn't want to go with the flow, actually Anubis is quite a disgusting hero. People will tell you how disgusting he is, and if you do manage to pull any sort of joint attacks, you're going to be happy. And if you can definitely get the Sun Wukong imprint on him, that is honestly going to carry you so far. You'll be actually laughing at how far this carries you. So when you just finish him off with the passive and imprint, when a hero is defeated, you increase this hero's turn meter by 30%. Obviously the imprint's 15%, and then his leader bonus is 24% HP in all battles, which does make him a really prime candidate to have as your leader in brawler-based teams. So everyone, wherever you're going, is just basically getting more HP, which, as you guys can see with his kit, is scaling that damage. So am I going to call him an ST hero you should pick? Definitely not, but he's definitely like one of those AT heroes that anyone will say, look, if you don't want to follow the grain and you just want to have a bit of fun and you like how Anubis looks, because he is a badass. Let's be honest, he's a badass, man. Look how good this guy is. I know I was covering him, but look how badass this hero looks, man. He is a monster. So if you want to pick this guy, go for it. No, I'm not going to tell you you're an idiot like some people might tell you, but look, everyone can understand it. Everyone's got their own picks and own reasons why to go. So the next hero, though, that we're going to go on is my girl Athena. And oh my god, I was talking about this last night in the camp Half-Blood chat. And again, if you guys want to join the Pantheon while we're here, guess what? Check it out. I will put it Discord link down in the description, and you can join our Pantheon. Still taking on players, and it's going to be really cool, obviously, to join, and you can be with me and many other content creators as well. And we were talking about Athena, and I was there saying, I am surprised I am not hearing a lot more rave, honestly, on Athena compared to a lot of the other heroes. I honestly would say, and this is going to be crazy for a lot of people, but to me, I would take Athena any day of the week over Anu. I know this might blow people's mind, but I'm telling you, I would take her any day of the week over Anu. And because of just straight away her basic ability is super powerful compared to Anu's, right? So you attack one enemy, which is cool, right? This is just a tank, we don't have to worry about it. 220% defense with 120% attack. That is quite a lot of damage if you can scale right, but you place the defense up 2 buff on all allies for 1 turn. Now that is crazy, because a defense up 2 buff, as you guys can see, is a 40% increase on your defense stat. That basically is trying to say, look, this turn, guys, we're good. And why this is super powerful, especially for a tank hero, is when you technically start to consider the different heroes that we've already seen in the legendary role. Obviously, I'm not going to say every single person is going to get legendaries falling out of their ass and going to have all these summons and have every single hero, because I do believe the Godforge team have already said, look, we're going to make heroes quite scarce and feel like you really need to work for them to get them, which I actually love. But you got to think, when you do start getting some of these combos, there is some nastiness in that. With just your Athena, and think of someone like Vivian, well, instantly we get a defense up 2 buff for 1 turn, and Vivian can come around and instantly make it a 2-turn buff. And for 2 turns, you don't have to worry about it. Is a massive deal, especially if you've got other types of units obviously in the team that's going to give you like an attack up 2 buff. Maybe you're playing Sharpen, maybe you're playing a type of like Blaze team, so you've got the I think it's the precision buff for that, for example. Even Phoenix, imagine you've got Phoenix with the defense up 2 for argument's sake, and you just increase the turn. Any men's increase the turn. It's actually really disgusting just to have a defense up 2 on a basic ability. But what I really like about Athena is her actual core ability. 4 until a 3 turn when you book it down, but place a shield and it's 400%. And just that number alone, if I remember correctly, people might have to check it out, but in our last video, I don't know about this one because we're going to see it ourselves, but that is the highest a percentage of a shield. Legitimately, 400% defense on all allies, and you reduce the damage inflicted by allies by 5%, which stacks up to 3 times. It's a 15% damage reduction on top of a 400% shield. Like, that is so good no matter where you go, right? I don't think people realize, like, the 400% shield through campaign, through even towers, is great because it's immediate value. Just immediate, don't worry, guy, you're good. You've got the shield. Your invoker could start healing the team back up, and you're going to stabilize, right? In boss fights, the more you get this off, even though it's only 3 times, it is basically giving you just exponential value. 15% damage reduction from one hero, not including your gear, not including any other heroes that might do the same thing, is a actual quite premium when you think when bosses and dungeons will scale up in damage. So if you can reduce that damage down, that's what's going to make you actually push through the game. And that's one thing which I think is going to be really key. So I actually love Athena. I think if you've got Athena, don't worry, I actually think you're in really good hands for a starting tank hero. Yes, it's a tank, but look, not all flashy heroes need to have these crazy looking cool abilities and need to be a DPS of some sort, right? The tank here is going to be your cornerstone. When you go into her ultimate, you got the Gorgon's Wrath, which is attack all enemies, 210% defense, 110% attack, increases the damage of the next ultimate by 3%, and each time an ally is attacked under shield. So just think now, if you work it out correctly, you can just shield up with her, press the ultimate, and for each time they keep getting hit by these shields, this is going up by 3%. And the only thing which is kind of disgusting about this is, and we'll have to test it, and I'd love to hear maybe the Godforge team reach out, but it says increases the damage of the next ultimate by 3% each time an ally is attacked under shield. So if you can instantly keep your shield up, and this is up, does that mean I can keep maintaining 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%? Do you see what I'm saying? Because that is multiplying on top of itself. Like, if you can increase your damage by 3%, and then that is like so much, I mean, you're doing 3% to that number, but 3% to that number, it exponentially is going to get bigger, in my eyes, right? So, kind of disgusting. I'm gonna be honest, kind of disgusting. So I'd love to know how this ability works a little bit more, just in terms of the stacking timing, because it is very cool. And that's why, again, I just think she is a really completed tank. If you want a tank, a safe tank, nothing too flashy, doesn't need to do anything flashy, go for it, because I do think she is that one tank that's going to keep you, like Svarog, just in good hands, because it's just so easy to understand, and they've got such a great job, and they can do it so well. Let's be honest, it's so good. Just to finish it off though, obviously the passive imprint and leader bonus, you got 33% defense in arena battles, which is going to be interesting. I'm not obviously too keen on that, and don't worry, there will be other heroes that you can go through with better leader bonuses, but hey, it is what it is. Medusa's Glado passive, when an ally under shield is attacked, you have a 70% chance to place Petrify for one turn, which I think is so flavorful, it's disgusting. And again, just so new players understand, Petrify, again, like Despair, skips the next turn if it comes to them, but you increase the divinity effects are reduced by 50%. So any sort of like way they were going to increase their divinity, it's just cut in half, which is huge, by the way, because obviously that is going to slow down their turn to get their ultimate, right, and go off. So again, just think, any ally under shield has that ability. So if you've got 4 or 5 slot teams, that's 4 or 5 chances at 70% chance in order to place Petrify. That is kind of crazy, if you ask me. And even the imprint is still a very powerful imprint. I don't think you would maybe go for this as your Godforge quest, but you're going to think about it if you did pick it for Godforge quests, if you didn't go down the meta route, and you didn't pick, obviously, the good old Sun Wukong, you could put this on her, or you could put it on like another hero, and you didn't, you know, maybe like a blue hero like Tristane, and Tristane's going to generate the shield, so this is still going to work 35% of the time, like no matter what, which is a really insane high uptime. So if you've not guessed it, I love Athena. That shield, that artwork, that skill set is amazing, absolutely amazing. So if you guys are worried if you've picked her, if you've got a bad hero or not, my opinion is no, you've actually got a pretty good hero. You're in really safe hands, especially for a tank hero, if that's the way you want to play the game. So the next hero, boom, it's one again from Alpha 3, and this is going to be an interesting one because this is Dracula, and as people know, Dracula was quite powerful in Alpha Wave 1 and 2, and people did try to use him in Alpha Wave 3, but obviously wasn't part of the main end team, and this is because of Bleed. He's one of the coolest Bleed heroes in the game, and he basically has his basic ability, attack one enemy, and this is 70% HP, 40% attack 2 times, and each hit has a 75% chance, goes up to 100, 2 players, 1 stack of bleed. So this is basically at max level, placing 2 stacks of bleed, and when he goes into an attack, healing 5% HP this hero if his target is under bleed. So straight away, I know, I think there's odd one. Probably he's going to pick Dracula because he loves, obviously, Dracula being in Transylvania and stuff, and all the lore and that. But the cool thing about Dracula, which I think a lot of people will obviously just kind of ignore straight away, is your star heroes. You got to think you are going to be potentially starting with Lady Shock. And then if you got Lady Shock, you can easily speed tune the team just so if she always goes first, he goes second. Guess what? You can get that AoE bleed done from her on her core ability, and then instantly, if you want a basic or core with your good old friend Dracula here, you're instantly getting that heal at least from that basic ability, right? So it's actually quite a nice little bit of synergy that you can instantly basically apply 3 stacks of bleed in 1 turn with your starting picked hero and Dracula. And again, I think a lot of people are just going to ignore this and just think, do you know what? Go for an invoker, go for a tank, and you're going to be in the best hands. And yes, you will be in the safest starting position, but hey, this is a game, this is your first time playing, you feel adventurous, you want a bit of spice like an odd one, well, why not try Dracula? Because I do think with Dracula, Lady Shock, and if you even find an Isolde and Tristane, early game, you're going to be cooking. I don't think people realize, like, that combo is going to be cooking, and you're going to be able to complete a lot of the different probably content in the game, which is great. And as you progress through, you will find obviously better kind of replacements, maybe for the Tristane, or maybe for the Isolde, for example. Like maybe you find that Brynhild, which would be really powerful to get a nice good tank upgrade in the epic category for your team. So you can definitely do stuff like that, right, and work towards that as a beginner player and go down that route. So I'm not going to say no for those players looking at Dracula. The core ability is also really cool. This is a 6 turn, which is quite long, but it goes down to 4 turns, which is really good. But you place 2 stacks of bleed on all enemies, and you remove 1 random buff from each of the targets, which is very powerful, because you've got to think in maybe certain dungeons, maybe certain boss fights, they could be placing buffs on themselves, and if you're able to just strip that buff off him, hey, I'm taking that every single day of the week, and he's a really good DPS, and it's bleed damage, which is going to do so much damage to the enemies. If you guys just want to have an update, I will just tell you, because I know maybe you don't understand how much damage bleed does, but this is 1% of the maximum HP each turn. Stacks up to 10 times. If you get 10 stacks, that's 10% max HP done each turn. It's actually disgusting when you start seeing this go off. So you can see why it's really powerful, and which is really cool. If a buff is removed, you place 3 stacks of bleed. So in one core ability, you're able to place 5 stacks of bleed, and then you grant an extra turn, which I think is absolutely crazy, because then you can go instantly into your basic ability if you want to, put them up to 7 stacks straight away, and heal yourself for any damage you might have taken, and then pass it over to the friend who might be doing whatever they're doing. And you got to think as well, if you are doing joint attack combos and stuff, guess what? If we're placing bleed stacks all the time, yeah, this is going to get kind of a little bit out of hand, right? The ultimate is where it's kind of cool, because you attack all enemies 4 times. Before attacking, you consume all stacks of bleed, which I know it sounds a little bit, counterproductive, but the thing is, you increase the damage output by 8% per stack of bleed consumed. So you got to think, you're doing 80% more damage, which is nearly double, because it's 100% would be double, right? You're nearly doing double the amount of damage for doing 10 stacks, right? 4 times. This is a 4-time You're literally Mike Tyson in the ring. Doosh, 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 doosh. Like, oh, bro, it hits so hard. And what people don't realize is when you got 3% of your HP and 50% attack, you can go absolutely crazy on the HP here. And the amount of damage that we figured out that you could do was kind of ridiculous. Honestly, it could be ridiculous. So the cool thing about Dracula is the fact that he is a bleed-based hero. You have the option to burst with him with the ultimate. But if you don't want to burst, you don't have to, because his core and basic, just being able to keep flipping between each other, is perfect. Honestly, it allows you to honestly be quite flexible on how you approach a fight, which a lot of people might not actually consider when you look at Dracula's kit, because they might think, hey, I have to use my ultimate like that, I'm not going to like it. But in certain situations you will, I promise you, right? Just to finish it off, the Symphony of the Night passive is at the start of the enemy's turn. If they're under bleed, you increase the damage of this hero's next attack by 10%. Not as impressive as the imprint, because it's only 5%, but hey, I think anyone, if you did get the imprint, you would just take it maybe in the event. I wouldn't say, as anyone right now watching this video, get the imprint on the Godforge quest. There's definitely better imprints that we could be going for any situation. So this one is something that you would skip, but hey, the passive and just the overall kit for Dracula is quite good. So if you want, again, maybe a lot more spicier, you could go Dracula. And you got to remember, if you do go Dracula, you are going to have that Lady Shock start. And that is going to be quite good for free-to-players. And don't worry, before you guys obviously get a little bit concerned with everything, I will be making combo videos. So in the future, every single hero that we've gone through in today's video and the last video, if you check it out, will have their own individual video talking about hero combos, hero weapons, hero imprints that I think you could be going for, and actually giving you a couple of different playstyles that isn't just a straight, let's do damage and big damage only, right? Because there's a lot of different playstyles a lot of people like to go down, right? So with that, let's carry on with the next one, right? The next big one, and this is one which honestly I was super interested in. It's Freya, and she is an invoker from my favorite faction, the Asgards. I love it. Freya, come here, girl. So she is gonna be a support, and the way she works is pretty simple. The basic ability attacks one enemy, and for 250% attack, 5% of your initiative, places Mend on an ally with the lowest HP. And we did go over this in the last video. Mend is basically the way in-game that you heal over turns, basically. So you can reduce bleed stacks by 1, but then, and you heal 10% max HP at the start of the turn. So this is actually where a lot of the good healing over periods of time comes, compared to big burst healing that might come from other heroes that we can go through in the future, right? So Mend is actually quite nice, and the fact that you place this on the ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns is really good. I actually really like this a lot more than a lot of other basics that just place Mend anywhere, or even place Vanish, because if you place Vanish on the ally with the lowest HP like Anu does, I'll be honest, that guy is dying still. That guy is still dying to AoE, and that's not going to save them, right? This could actually save them. It's a 2-turn Mend, so quite insane. Core ability though, 5 turns, kind of big, and almost hitting that 6-turn like Drac then, but goes down to 3. You equalize an ally's turn meter equal to the enemy, the highest turn meter, then increase the turn meter of all allies by 20%, and you also permanently increase this hero's healing by 5%, which goes up to 40%. And this is quite funny, because we do have a confession to make. Because if you guys have watched my last video, Brad did obviously watch it too, and came out and kind of called me out, which is quite funny, a Godforge dev coming out and shouting out, but basically explained how Equalize actually works. So a lot of the time when we were kind of evaluating these heroes, we were kind of being fair with the assumption on how these mechanics worked. So the way we assumed Equalize to work is, for example, if your turn meter was at 70% and obviously I had 0%, I assumed it would equalize to the average, right? Which would be 35% in this case. So you'd be able to both be at 35% and work your way up, because that's kind of how I assumed it worked. However, this isn't how it works. It actually works, and I think a big shout out to Mr. Moore as well for this, because he said it works the same way in Raid Shadow Legends. So if you guys are playing Raid, you should know how this works now, because if you're at 70%, it equalizes and pulls you to 70% too, which is kind of disgusting if you ask me, because if you can really manipulate either turn meters, or in certain cases like Apollo can, we can equalize again for the divinity. If you can really manipulate how that works, you can actually potentially just start really ramping out fast turns and big bursts of damage, or massive combos as well in turns. So it's going to be really interesting how this works, because if you're equalizing an ally's turn meter equal to the enemy with the highest turn meter, what you're basically saying is if they're on 90%, you're going to bring your hero to 90%, but then you're increasing the hero by 20%. So that's going to overtake that ally. So in theory, if you're really clever about this, you can be stealing enemies' turns, and that's kind of how I'm reading it. You want to steal the enemy's turns with your own allies, which is kind of cool. And on top of that, you increase Freya's healing. It's going to go to a maximum of 20%. So you're going to think those mends that are lasting for 2 turns now is getting even disgusting. And I actually think maybe on just those 2 alone, she's not Isis level, who is just kind of crazy, which we will see soon, but she's very close. I honestly think she's very close. So if you already want my opinion, you want a hero You can't go wrong with Freya either. I think that is actually really, and this is my honest opinion, there is a lot of choices people can pick on their starting hero, and they're gonna go quite far. And that is the honest truth. They will go so far, and it's kind of insane. It's not just as one-dimensional as people are making it out to be, right? So when you go to the Valkyrie of the Falcon Vanguard, you've got place attack up 2 and a sharpen 2 on all allies for 2 turns. So again, 2 insane buffs there for you, because sharpen is raising your critical damage stat and your strong hit damage by 10%. So you are, again, increasing thresholds for your team, and obviously 40% attack up 2 is kind of disgusting. It's a lot of damage that you're going to be putting onto your team. And then all allies, this is for 2 turns, then you attack 1 enemy and then attack all enemies, and you increase the attack and critical damage of each ally by 10%, which stacks up to 5 times, which is a 50% increase. 1600 obviously for the divinity cost. It's going to be interesting to see how fast she can get that up, because if she can rotate that ultimate as fast as we hope she can, that is kind of disgusting again in long-term fights. You got to think, like, if you're in long-term fights and you can just get this going, even on heroes like Beowulf, like, imagine you got a Beowulf Freya combo, like the amount of critical damage and attack stacking that you're going to be putting up in a fight. You should be hitting like an absolute truck. So it really does showcase there's even like epic heroes that you could find with these legendary heroes here that's gonna work, and it's gonna get you quite far, and people are gonna have so much fun experimenting with it. The passive is when an ally critical hits, you heal 1200% initiative on the ally. So if you guys want to know the secret, you clearly want to be using Freya here. Full initiative, as much as initiative as you can, and don't look back, because that is crazy, because even the imprint is the same. The imprint isn't 600%, it's 1200 as well. So that might get changed in the final build, because if those are two literally identical, it's kind of crazy. I know this says heal the ally, this says heals this hero. Oh, I see it. Okay, I see the difference. Ooh, that's actually quite important. Okay, so don't go for the imprint. I know this might sound crazy, but I actually wouldn't go for the imprint. When this hero inflicts a critical hit, you heal this hero for that amount. So yes, if you are maybe going down an initiative-based DPS, that imprint would almost make them unkillable, right? But it's them. What's really good about her passive is whenever anyone actually crits, they heal off her basically initiative, which is very insane. Like it's basically like an Isolde 2.0. I'm gonna be honest. Like that's the best way of me looking at it. It's like Isolde 2.0, and you get 30% critical damage in all battles for a leader bonus. So Freya's looking quite spicy. She's definitely going to be up there. If you've picked her, don't be worried. I actually think, again, like Athena earlier on, really safe hands. I actually think she's actually a monstrous support hero that even I might be tempted to swap out for my Apollo if I see her in the summons, right? So moving on to the next hero, it's Grendel. And this is one brawler that honestly I think many people are absolutely loving for the same reason is kind of Anubis. This is only because we only saw the core and the ultimate from that last video, as many people will know. And with the basic ability now, Knowledge, we attack one enemy for 2 turns, and if the target is defeated, this hero gains an extra turn. Now, this is kind of disgusting on one basis, right? Because it's 7% of your HP and 65% of your attack. And you better best believe it, myself and probably many people are already looking at Grendel, like, how can we break his damage? Because you got to think, if we can attack 2 times with 7% of our HP, and get that into a ridiculous amount of damage, like HP stack, right? And we can really scale that damage up, and we can maybe get him to crit. Am I not just reading like a Zeus? Not as good as Zeus, but am I not just reading a Zeus? Because I get 2 chances of hitting that guy, killing them, and going again, and going again, and going again. And like, if you even like trying to kill them, you miss the kill, and then you use Aphrodite or Shamash or any of the joint attackers in the game to basically attack again. Grendel's basic goes through, it's gonna class that as his kill because the target is defeated, and what's brilliant is he steals the turn, so he might be able to do a basic again or a core. So you can kind of roll the basics after basics after basics, which I really do like. I'm gonna be honest, like, as someone who finished 6th in the race and abused the hell out of Zeus as much as you could until obviously the game said you needed crowd control from Mordred or like from even Odin, for example, right? If you didn't have those options to you, or Skade, right? If you didn't have any of those options, it was kind of GG for you if you didn't figure it out, right? But this is getting me kind of hot and bothered, I'll be honest. This is a brawler that's like, I'll be real, I do like some of these brawlers. I think brawlers in Godforge, they've nailed them. I think they've actually nailed them. They feel quite disgusting because these core abilities, 4-turn cooldown, goes to a 3-turn cooldown. And we already know what this does because of Anubis earlier on. We attack all enemies, and you have a 75% to 100% chance now to place Despair for 1 turn. And that is, again, so powerful. The ability to skip the enemy's turn with your core ability. So you can think in reality, you could try to core, hit everyone with the Despair. If you miss one of the targets, what's really cool, again, if you use Aphrodite, because I honestly think Aphrodite and Grendel would actually be just a really disgusting pair together. You can target the person that hasn't been, despaired, kill them, get an extra turn, place some damage onto someone who has got that despair, let them skip their turns, and then go back through, and you should have them low enough to kill them and take another extra turn. So, like, I do think Grendel's really cool. I'm gonna be honest, he's really cool. I can't deny it. Devourer of the Hero Rot, ultimate, attacks all enemies, 18% HP, 200% attack after attacking, instantly defeats heroes below 20% HP, and does not work on bosses, obviously, because imagine if you just deleted Fafnir, that would be funny. You increase this hero's HP, though, by 5%. This stacks up to 6 times, and for each enemy defeated. Also increases HP when attacking a boss. So the way this basically works is, instead of obviously instantly nuking the boss, you will always get the stack, because you're trying to stack the hero's HP, because the more HP stacking you've got, obviously the more damage you're going to be able to deal through your basic and your core, and even the ultimate too. So I'll be real, I actually do like Grendel. The thing is, though, the way his passive works makes me kind of, oof. Because this is for every 10% HP this hero is missing, you increase their speed and initiative by 5%, right? Which doesn't sound bad, right? And I actually do like it, because if you got to think, the lower HP you are, the more chance Grendel is going to be in turn, so he's always going to hopefully try and do something and get value, right? Which is really cool, right? That's kind of what you want, like a berserker, right? An absolute berserker, which is cool as hell. But I feel like if you start getting to those thresholds, that's when you're in danger, and that's when normally, honestly, these brawlers die. When you below, like, you really want to be around that 50% threshold, and that is kind of scary to be playing around, because it does take one good, really crit or strong hit, and that 50% your brawler could just die, right? So it's one of those passes where I bet you on Grendel, this is actually really fun, really cool, but for me, I don't think you want the imprint. You just ignore the imprint, don't worry about it. But for Grendel, it kind of makes sense with the amount of HP stacking that you're getting through this hero. So just final thoughts on him. If you guys are obviously wondering, if you pick Grendel, I'm not going to complain either. Honestly, this is one of my actually top picks for brawlers. If you want more like a DPS option, which isn't like your average Joe, you know, you're not your normal slayers like you might see out there. This brawler, honestly, is one that might take the cake just because, again, those basics and cores alone are really good for me, right? So if you've picked Grendel, I don't think you should worry. I actually think, again, really good hero, and you'll be surprised on how far this hero might take you in the game in the long term, right? So moving on, we've got Hades, and now this is one of the kits that's quite huge, and I'll be honest, I'm going to blame Hades here, not Simon, but I'm going to blame Hades, the model, because if it wasn't for his box, my camera would not be here. It'd be down near the actual box. I blame him. He has too many letters. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh card that we can see right here. I'm joking, right? But hero skills. Attacks one enemy for 270%. This is 30% to 50% chance to play sleep for one turn. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not impressed, because the thing is, sleep is, as you can imagine, a very powerful debuff. This is skipping the next turn, but if you take damage, these attacks are increased by 30%, and then the duration is reduced when attacked. So if they're asleep, you basically wake them up, but they take 30% increased damage. This is really powerful, a 30% increase in damage. The issue is, what I think many people will agree, is the actual way the skip per turn, because for me, when I play these disables, I actually prefer something like Stun or Despair or Petrify, because this skips their next turn and I can still deal damage to them. So I am not losing the value of them even skipping their turn, because a lot of the time, if you can stop them from doing their turn, then that might have saved you from the massive area of effect crowd control that you might be going over. Maybe it stops you from doing the damage that they were about to kill you. So skipping turns is honestly so valuable. I can't stress it, right? Because a lot of the time, if you can skip someone's turn and then heal your team and just blow up the enemy team and then get the end of wave or end of round heal for that, you know, encounter and going to the next wave, that's what gets you through things. That is honestly what gets you through things. So the basic I'm not too hyped about. If you want my opinion, maybe Simon's watching, just increase it from 50% to 70%. All the others are really high percentage. I don't know why this isn't as high, especially it's only attacking one enemy compared to the effect of, obviously, our Anubis being able just to kill an enemy and put Despair on everyone with 100% value chance, right? Which is just broken. So Torment of Souls, though, the core might increase my love of him. Attack all enemies, 250%. This is going to give you a 75 to 100% chance now to place Despair. So this is already good. I like this much better. This is one turn Despair lock, which we can work with. But you also place the lock ultimate for one turn on enemies under curse. So now this is a little bit weird. So, okay, we're going to read the passive. I'm reading down. I'm trying to find where there's curse. We're going to read the passive. So, Charon awaits. So at the start of this hero's turn, place a curse 2 for one turn on an enemy with the highest attack. When an enemy under curse is defeated, you place curse 2 for one turn on a living enemy with the highest attack, and curse 2 cannot be dispelled or resisted, right? So if you guys are wondering what this does, don't worry, this is one keyword that didn't get too much usage in the alpha wave, so there's no hate on that. But the curse is 50% reduced incoming healing and shielding. There you go. So pretty good one to actually go for if you think about what you're able to grab out of that. So I'm not gonna lie, that does make my opinion on him much better. Honestly, it makes my opinion on him much better, because you've got to think now, okay, we're going to be able to despair someone, and at the start of my turn anyway, I've got a 50% chance to curse to them, and if I kill someone under a curse, it's going to try to basically transfer it, which is kind of cool, to the guy with the highest attack as well, so I can really target who gets this curse ability and focus down that unit. But also locking an ultimate, that is, I reckon, going to be quite important. I don't know how important it will be for like PvP, but I think it's going to be really important because, again, if you know the enemy have their ultimate and you're able to just deny it and skip their turn, that's huge, because that means like they can't use their, obviously, turn, so the despair comes off. Then they're gonna have to wait until the lock ultimate falls off as well, and then go. And I feel like that's just kind of, maybe I'm overthinking it, but quite good stalling. His ultimate is attacks all enemies 2 times. First attack will decrease the target's turn meter 20%. Second attack will be speed down 2 for 2 turns. Also places initiative down 2 for 2 turns. Enemies under curse. So, right, I see where this is going, and I'm going to give you my straight opinion on this. I don't like it. Why don't I like it? Because why? So to me, for my Hades to work, it honestly relies on my passive to get the value. And if I'm not going to run that passive, right, and it's not going to go off, I basically need to find a second hero in my team. I do believe Shinigami, big shout out to the guys who love Shinigami, I believe that those type of heroes can place curse. But that's what I'm trying to say. You're going to have to try and run a second hero no matter what with curse. And in my opinion, if you lock this hero in, he's going to be cool, but it might be difficult as you're summoning the early pool heroes that you're going to have access to. A good curse enabler to get this guy online. That's my opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong, and when we get into the game, we're going to see that. But obviously, I will do a whole tier list on this. But I will say now, Hades is one I would skip. If you've got him on your current Godforge quests, as you've seen so far with the previous guys, you can easily go down different routes, right? And another one is Heimdall, and compared to everyone else, I'll be real, I don't need to speak as long on this hero because we know how good he is. From Alpha Wave 3, I will tell you, Heimdall early game is okay. He's not insane, he's okay. What makes Heimdall actually powerful is the end game. The fact that you are in the end game and you've got really good gear and you've got really good stats with really good weapons. The fact that you place in defense up 2 on all allies for 2 turns, and then you place in a 300% defense shield on all allies, then protect 2 on all allies, is just insane. And what makes it even more insane is the fact that your core ability places retaliate and intercept, and these 2 keywords on their own is just so powerful. Anyone will tell you, like, this allows you can see, to counterattack the enemy whenever you get hit with the retaliation here. So if you get hit by an area of effect attack, well, guess what? All of your team attacks that one guy because it just retaliates through. It is brutal to go against. And then you got to think your intercept, which redirects an attack to this hero that places it. So if they've got single target hits, guess what? Your bad man, Mr. Heimdall here, is going to be able to take that hit, which is what he's designed to do. So his core, his ultimate, honestly, in the end game is so goddamn strong, so goddamn powerful. Anyone will agree. For the early game push, he's going to be just a normal tank, I honestly think, for most players, and he will be great. But I honestly think, like, Athena would actually be just overall a more flexible tank early game, mid game, and late game, right? Which is kind of like my point here. Heimdall's really good for that mid-game to end-game transition on your account, and he is a phenomenal hero by no means, but you gotta think, are you gonna be able to get to that mid-game and end-game as quick as other players? And that might be not your goal, which is fair play, but if it is your goal, maybe Heimdall's not the way to go, right? That's just the honest truth. But this hero is a monster. He is an absolute monster. The passive imprint is just allies under buffs have a 50% chance to reflect any debuffs that you receive. Really key if you guys are wondering for stuff like obviously the Fafnir fight and so on, because you're just basically able to potentially flick everything back just with the even retaliate on top and stuff. So yeah, you can do some really disgusting things with this hero, right? So no shocker, really good actual monster. And again, for everyone, just to make him look really pretty, the full screen for you guys. So moving on, because that one was a fast one, and this is going to be hell, and it's going to be kind of a fast one too, compared to some of the others that we've talked about, because we've already played with Hell, especially on Alpha Wave 3, and I did play with her quite a lot. And I will be honest, I know a lot of people aren't too hyped on her, but for a Slayer, when you actually tried her out, she does deal an absurd amount of damage. Like, she honestly does, right? Even her basic, which attacks one enemy for 375% attack, is a massive burst. But you have a 75% chance to 100% chance to spread curse onto one random enemy. Like, so it's just like one of those things where you're like, okay, I see where this is going. The core ability attacks all enemies and has a chance to place a curse 2 for 2 turns. So if you don't realize with Hell, which a lot of people wasn't doing, you always open up with the core and then you instantly go into the basic ability. And if you've got any sort of joint attack again in that kind of combination, you start spreading these curse buffs that you might have missed on other players, on any teams, and just, you know, go crazy. And that's really, really powerful. But the 520% attack all enemies is what is crazy, because this attacks just obliterates basically everything. Like, what you notice when you run Hell, it will obliterate everything, but then you revive all the enemies with 10% HP, and then you place Confuse on them, which makes them attack each other for 2 turns. You can't resist it or block it. And if there's a target, you place a defense down 2 on the target instead. This is actually a really powerful ultimate, which a lot of people kind of overlook, because you got to think when you go to the buffs and stuff, right? You're doing a defense down, right, 2 buff, debuff on them. So that is a 40% decrease in defense on the boss, right? For the other one, right, you've got the Confuse, which is attacking people. You got to think, if they're confused, they can't act in turn. So they can't use their abilities at all. They basically attack their neighbor, and then it goes to the next turn. And then if all of the team's confused, well, they skip each turn because they have to forcefully attack one of their, you know, teammates with their basic abilities. And that is actually really powerful. That is a 2-turn stall, which a lot of people don't realize. And even with the 10% HP, basically what this basically says to you is, look, you're going to kill everything, and whatever basically revives back up is on so little HP that any of these confused triggers is going to kill them. And you get 2 turns to stall, so you can heal, shield, buff, whatever you might need to do, you know, to recuperate for that wave. And then on the next turn, because it's the second one now, you can finish them off yourself, right? Which is really good. And against bosses, it's a defense down 2 for 2 turns. So again, I actually think, like, I don't think you would pick up Hell as a major DPS, but if you like how she looks, because you think she is a really cool looking hero, because she is one of the best designed visually heroes that I think that's in Godforge, why not? I'm not going to say no, but look, there is going to be safer choices that you can pick, and that is just the honest truth. There is going to be safer choices that you can pick, but why not have a little bit of Hell in your life if you want to go down that route? But yeah, if you want to look at the passive and you look at the leader bonus, this is a 30% attack in arena battles, and then the Helheim's hold. When an ally or enemy is revived, you increase this hero's attack by 10%. It stacks up to 10 times. Is 100% obviously on the Staccarini, so not too shabby at all. Honestly, she is a really good nuker when you actually tried her out later on, but she's just got a funky hero, so she's not going to be for everyone. So if you don't like her, I 100% understand. Moving on, Hercules. Now, I'll be actually ruthless and I'm going to be quite mean. Yes, people like Hercules. I absolutely despise this hero, right? Why? It's because of the passive. The way you play Hercules is honestly for that passive and kind of the stun factor on him. Apart from that, I will be really ruthless. I would not recommend Hercules for people. Yes, he's going to be able to place acid, but guess what? If you want to place acid, pick Ramses and don't look back, right? Hercules is one of these heroes. I think if you pull him in your team through summoning, then you're going to be happy. I wouldn't pick him in your Godforge quest, and that is just simply because you attack one enemy with your core ability, you stun them for 1 turn, and if you're under the immortal state, you increase the damage by double, which is quite disgusting. But in order to get there, you need to do the ultimate. 12 labors, and yes, it's only 500, and yes, you can get through, but what you start to realize, the more times you start to play with Hercules, you stack them maybe 4 or 5 times, and then it's the next, it's next on. So the cool thing with Hercules, and the only way I like Hercules, and maybe some people will give him a little bit more credit, is in maybe boss fights, maybe in dungeons. Just because if you're against the big baddie and you're able to get immortal on him, he is a really good way to survive and just deal damage, and maybe he's the last guy that you've got on your team, and just because of that ultimate immortal, he gets through. But I'm going to be ruthless on you. Guess what? Hercules, just because I don't like you at all, you're not going to be one I'm going to recommend. So sorry, guys. I'm sorry. 0 to hero, passive and imprint. Don't worry about it. Actually, the imprint I like. The imprint is actually good. The prevent this hero's death and heals them to 50% of their maximum HP isn't actually bad. If you find the imprint randomly, that isn't too bad, but there is still better imprints that we've seen in the game, but you can still try and find this, obviously, as options. Moving on is Isis, and now this is one we can get behind. We can get behind this hero. She is just an absolute monster of Alpha Wave 3, and guess what? She is still the same here today. So you attack one enemy with a 50 to 65% chance to steal that buff, and then you spread the buff to all allies. That is crazy. That means, guys, when you're playing Isis, if you're against any team and they have any of these blue buffs, anything that you saw there, any of them, you can grab that, you go yoink, it's mine today, and then you just give it to everyone like Oprah. You can have the vanish, you can have the vanish, you can have the reflect, you can have the reflect. It is actually crazy. Her kit from the get-go in Alpha Wave 3, if you picked Isis, if not, the safest top 2, in my opinion, heroes in support. She is that good of a hero, right? This is just because when you look at all the rest of her kit, it just gets better. The core ability is a 6-turn cooldown, which we've seen Drac do, but it goes to 4 turns. You place a 20% based on your HP, which is so insane. I can't believe that they've done that again. Percent shield on your on all allies. You place defense up 2 on all allies, which is a 40% obviously increase on defense for 3 turns, and then you grant this hero an extra 10. So no matter what, you can literally go boom, everyone don't die, here's a massive shield, and yoink, I'm going to steal that all in 1 turn. Honestly, Isis is so good. You will love her in your teams, guys. She's just that good of a support, no matter what anyone tries to say about her, right? Her ultimate revives all allies 50% HP and puts them into 50% turn meter, so you can just beat other players that have just obviously taken their turns and stuff. And what's really cool, the only thing that's tied to this hero as a tag team ability is if Horus is in your team, which is a good tank that you can be putting in here, right? You revive him and he gets Radiance 2 on himself. So Radiance 2 allows you to, as you can see, reflect and reduce 20% of the incoming damage to the enemy back to him. Very good. Very, very good. So I'm telling you, Isis here, all-star. She's honestly an all-star. If you want to look for her, go for her. Don't look back. You've got my blessings, honestly. So this is a full screen just so you guys can see. And just to kind of finish off, obviously, the last bits as we do the full screen is the passive and leader bonus of 70 resistance in all battles, which means you won't be affected as often with debuffs and disables, if I remember correctly, that resistance does. And then Mother's Embrace is the passive at the start of this hero's turn. You remove all debuffs and disables from the ally with the lowest HP, and then you heal them for 10% of this hero's maximum HP. Honestly, this is just such a good ability. She's just great. She keeps everyone up. She shields. She steals buffs. She does everything. She revives. Like, what else do you want in a actual support? Let's be real with ourselves, right? So moving on is Loki, and now this is one where I'm low-key making the meme, because Loki is still is better than what he was, right? So what I'm going to be real with, Loki, in my opinion, seems a lot more of a PvP-based hero. You attack one enemy, which is cool, 75% chance, 100% chance going to charm the target for one turn. And don't get me wrong, charm was his whole kit before. So if you guys don't know, he charmed basic, charmed core, and basically kind of used his ultimate. It just really didn't work as well, right? And when you recharm, you kind of understand why, because charm takes the next attack for the enemy that placed this debuff. So you kind of force people to attack you, like as if you played Hearthstone and you've got taunt on your cards. That's kind of how charm kind of works. It forcefully makes them get you, which is a little bit weird, because if you guys have not guessed it, he was a kind of like an accuracy and attack based scaler. So he's still, in my eyes, falling for a big issue, because when you read his core, you play sleep and attack all enemies, which is good, right? If the tag is already under sleep, increase the duration by 1 turn, which is really good, and you steal that turn meter by 10%, so you don't disrupt the sleep, which is cool. You attack all enemies on the ultimate, 140% attack, 250% accuracy, 100% chance when you max it to corrupt, which is good for 2 turns. But then you place vanish and backfire, and that is a new keyword. We have no clue what backfire does, and I can guarantee you that, because if we just go into our boys' website, it's not even there. So backfire sounds like if anything would hit him, maybe he backfires and it hits them even harder. I don't know. Maybe he can... No, because reflect is what reflect is. That's interesting. I don't know what backfire does. I want to know what backfire does. I bet you, Brad, or someone's going to reach out, and I will thank you already. However, it's not enough. It's not enough. I'm sorry. It's not enough. Loki, I feel like he's suffering from the same issue. Really good core ultimate kind of works with each other. The basic, I just don't think you need. I actually just would swap the charm for anything else, because if you are forcibly getting attacked with Loki and you literally are scaling off attack or accuracy, you're most likely not gonna survive the damage of the charm. And that is my humble opinion. So if you pick this hero, he might be fun, but I'll be real, skip him, and you will thank me later. I honestly think this is one of the lowest rated heroes in my book still, from the Godforge alpha to now, because he still feels like he's suffering from the main issue, apart from what backfire is. Whatever backfire is going to be maybe what actually makes this hero insanely strong, and we just don't know that, right? So that's Loki. We've only got 10 more to go. I know we're hitting the hour mark, but just remember, guys, we did an hour and a half for 11, and we've got to go through 21 of these bad boys. So I've actually kind of smashed it through so far. So when it comes to Metzel, so Metzel here is attacks one enemy 300% and restores 10% destroyed HP of an ally with the most destroyed. So she is an evoker, which is really important, and instantly I think many people will say this is going to be potentially really important in certain dungeons, and that's what basically it is, right? This might be that one bread and butter support that you might need to beat a certain dungeon boss. We've seen the different five boss levels that we've got in the game. We don't know how they actually properly work or what the mage turnstones are, and we know we have to wait until early access to see that, which I love. I don't want to be spoiled, and I don't want to know what those dungeons are until I get on my hands on the game. So this feels like her basic ability is tailored for a specific dungeon, a specific amount of content in the game. Her core ability is a 6-turn one, but it cuts in half, which is really big, a 50% turn cooldown, so it goes down to 3 turns, and you remove 2 random disables, 2 random debuffs from all allies, and then you place a resistance up 2 buff for each target for 2 turns. So again, really powerful, because resistance up 2 is a 40% increase on their resistance stat, which is going to allow them not to take as many debuffs already that she's already stripped. So she already seems to me like one of those heroes you're definitely going to be needing for tailored content, and that might be kind of the downfall on maybe the tier list for her, because she is going to be great. I think she's going to be a great hero, but for people trying to pick that kind of versatile, kind of army Swiss knife, the jack of all trades that can kind of help you in the early game, mid game, and end the game, and kind of maybe clear the campaign kind of well, kind of go through some of the dungeons, maybe can clear the clan boss, right? I feel like she might not fit all of those tick boxes, and that is the sad, harsh reality on it, right? The cool thing about her ultimate, though, as many people will like, she has a revive. She revives all defeated allies with 40% health and turn meter, but you also restore 20% of each ally's destroyed HP, and you increase their divinity by 20%, which makes them 20% closer to their ultimate, if I remember correctly, right? So that's not bad. And again, when I'm looking at this hero's passive and now her bonus being a 20% speed in all battles, but when this hero uses an ability, it has a 50% chance to spread one random buff from this hero to all allies, I actually have some really cool inclinations with this, right? Because this is not a hero I think you're going to pick for Godforge quests. But think about it like this, and especially for her video that I will do. You could combo her with someone like Pandora and Isis and have some sort of tank unit in there, or maybe DPS, see how it goes through. It sounds weird, but with a triple invoker combo like that, what's actually happening is, obviously, Metzel covers all the destroyed HP, and she can remove any disables or debuffs and place that resistance up to on the targets, right? But what's really cool is the fact that, think about it, with her passive now, if you have Pandora, or if you have these type of units that can either steal buffs or generate buffs, you have a 50% chance to spread that, right? Basically, like, have that, which is kind of powerful in my eyes, right? So I feel like this is one of those really funky heroes that I actually think, the more I'm looking at her, the more my brain is starting to work that this is a really interesting hero that, with the right combination of buff stealers and buff providers, with maybe that one way of surviving through a team, you could be doing some really funky stuff in the playstyle department. Actually push through content, because I know a lot of people push through content with the main girl Pandora, so a big shout out to Brad who told us about that, because that was one thing that surprised me a lot. So really good, really good. I wouldn't recommend it for Godforge quests, and maybe not for your opening team, but definitely one hero not to ignore. That is the honest to goddamn truth, right? And this is MrSneakyy. There we go, MrSneakyy. So really cool. So moving on, next hero, 9 to go. Mulan, with her trusty Mushu on that chest plate. I see it. I see the dragon, and I love it. I love it every single time I see it. So thank you, whoever designed that. Swift River, basic, attack one enemy 2 times, 180%. Critical attacks reduce the target's defense by 2%. So this is a 20% defense reduction that you put onto them. And then you got to think, if you put defense down 2 on them through any other means, right, through another enemy, you're going to be able to obviously get that to like, what, 60%, which is kind of disgusting. So not too bad. I actually don't think that's not shabby. Really good for bosses. Really good for bosses. Maybe pretty good damage overall just to kill things, but I'll be real. Grendel seems just a better basic if you want to just clear campaign and kill things. So that's why I feel like he might be more versatile compared to she is, because she's more tailored definitely to bosses, it seems. The 4 and 3 turn cooldown for the core, which is okay, and not anything too crazy. Attacks one enemy, 370% attack. Increases the damage inflicted by 10% for each living enemy, which is quite interesting. So that's a 40 to 50%, maybe 60% if the devs get crazy and give us a 6-man team for extra damage on that, which does mean you pack a hell of a punch. And then you place Vanish on his hero for 2 turns. That is really potentially good for PvP, but I personally, again, don't like Vanish. So if you guys don't realize, for Vanish, we just let you know, obviously you cannot be directly targeted. So you basically get your Harry Potter cloud, put that mother liquor over you, you know, get that shroud on top so you can't get seen in the invisibility cloak. And the issue you have with Vanish, though, is you can still get targeted by area of effect damage. So if you do go against like a Sizzin player, real good example, Sizzin would literally kill Mulan still. He would not care that you're in Vanish because he's gonna AoE you and he's gonna put acid on you or bleed and just laugh when he does it, right? So this is one of those things where I think like Vanish, in my opinion, is one of the lowest rated key words from my book, right? And maybe I could do a tier list for all the different buffs or debuffs. Let me know if you want to see that. But her ultimate, moving on, is attacks one enemy for 3 times, 150% attack, which is okay. Each hit is a 6% chance to place Drain 2 and Hex 2. So the Drain 2 is very powerful, and actually the Hex 2 is actually pretty powerful. However, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that is going to warrant me wanting to pick her. So the Drain 2 is a 20% heal. Basically, it's on lifesteal, so you get 20% lifesteal if you deal damage to the guy with the Drain on, which is really good. And then the Hex on it is also allies take 10% of the damage received. So obviously, if you hit someone for like, I don't know, 10k, right? Everyone else on the team's going to take 1,000 damage, which obviously adds up over the turn of the fight. But I'll be real, in terms of DPS, I honestly think there's going to be better DPSs that you can pick. Her passive is increases the chance to strong hit by 20% when inflicting damage under Vanish. So that means her strong hit is going to potentially be going off with that core. And you can maybe put her in teams of maybe like a K Sif, which is a rare hero that places Vanishes on themselves and accuracy and can do a ton of single target damage too. So maybe that's the direction they kind of want to go. But the issue I have is just Vanish to me is just too weak and susceptible to area of effect, which a lot of people is kind of what they're going to go down for. So if you want my humble opinion, Mulan, I would get rid of. So if you've got her on your Godforge quests, maybe get rid of her, because you can honestly find Drain 2 and Drain 1 on your Guan Yu starting hero. I believe Hex 2, again, you can find this on other heroes like maybe Shinigami, and I can bet you can find this on other epic heroes. So if you're going to try and play her just for those 2 keywords, it wouldn't be worth it. So I'm looking at her at more of the core and basic and just being able to rotate both the basic and core. And I don't think that is going to be warrant enough to take her for your legendary option. So moving on is Pazuzu, and now this is a hero I can get behind. Why can I get behind Pazuzu? Because we've already seen this guy's core and ultimate, and I was blown away at this, right? So this is one of the DPSs, and he's a disruptor too, which is kind of just really cool because you attack one enemy, 320% attack, and 100% chance to place an accuracy down 2 buff for 2 turns. That alone is huge. As well as you have 100% chance when you max him out to remove one random debuff, one random buff, shall I say. So you literally can strip buffs, and you can put accuracy down too, which is going to make it so their accuracy stats reduced by 40%, so they can't land those freezes and stuff as well as easily, even though you might be, maybe you got low resistance, right? But I can lower your accuracy in order to land them, which is kind of cool, right? So definitely a really cool ability there for just the basic. And then when you go into the core ability, we've got attack all enemies, 230% attack, with 100% chance again to place corrupt, which we love, in each target for 2 turns. But then, which I think is really interesting, is if this target is aligned with order, you place fear on them. So you basically got to say, if you are fighting, obviously in campaign, 30% or 50% of the time, you could say you might be going against some sort of order hero in a team composition. And if you are, you're going to be able to place fear on them, which is quite huge. That is a turn skip. And maybe how, and this is my assumption, of how the Tower of Chaos and how the Tower of Order will work. If you pick Pazuzu here, who is a Chaos hero in the Chaos Tower, you'll be going against order-based teams. And if you're going against order-based teams, this is going to be one of those heroes late game that is going to be a monster in the tower, right? It really is. It's going to push through that tower and just clear it, I think. The Demon King's command ultimate is attacks all enemies, 120% attack for 3 times. Each hit has a 75% chance to place vulnerable to acid and curse too. And that's where I think, again, it just gets kind of out of hand because you increase the damage that that's dealt by debuffs by 40%. You're obviously putting the acid on here, which is disabling the max armor stats and giving that 5% max HP, which is really, really good on there. And the last one, which I can't remember because I'm too bad, curse 2, there we go, is going to also, again, really powerful one, reduce the incoming healing and shields by 50%. Like, that is a lot of cut down, let's be honest, that you're able to do with just those abilities, right? So when we go back to Pazuzu, you gotta think, even if he's not in these order towers, the amount of effect he actually brings is very good. If you're running, obviously, Lady Shock or Ramses as your starting hero, that vulnerable 2 makes your acids, makes your bleeds do more damage, and it's going to allow you to potentially go through and deal more damage to clan bosses in the long run. So I actually have Pazuzu, which is kind of crazy, but he is the only, one of the only disruptor heroes on my list where if I were going for the spiciest pick in the century, Pazuzu would be it, because he's not an invoker, he's not a DPS, he's not a tank, he's a crowd control disruptor, and he does it actually really well. So I really do love this hero, right? The passive for him is when an enemy gains a buff, you increase this hero's turn meter by 10%. And if the enemy gains 3 buffs in 1 turn, guess what? I just steal your turn, which is crazy because you've got to think, we have seen a lot of heroes that can place 1 or 2 buffs easily in their kits to the entire team. So if they're able to do that and get 3 buffs quite fast, guess what? I'm stealing your turn, I'm corrupting you, I might be even basicing you here or ultimating you. You must fear me because Pazuzu is gonna cut your turn in half. So you really need to think when you play against a Pazuzu, especially even in like PvP, I think. That is one of those other detrimentals. People trying to stack and get as strong as they can in the early turns in PvP, and Pazuzu just goes, yoink, that's my turn. And on top of this, can we just again remember Pazuzu has the best wings in Godforge. Everyone knows it. I say it in the video last time. Simon laughed when I mentioned it in the comments, but it's true. Pazuzu has the best wings designed in the game. No angel, no demon, no dragon comes close to how magnificent those beautiful wings look like. So I'm just saying, really cool hero. You won't be missing out if you do decide to pick a Pazuzu for your team. I will just say it, just to finish that off, if you do pick Pazuzu, I will consider this more of a elite player. See, I would consider you as a pre-educated player for playing Raid or Ethereal Restart or any of these type of games, like Watcher of Realms is a good example, right? Any game, if you've played it in the past and you're pretty good at it, this might be one of those spicy starts that you might go, but I wouldn't recommend it to newer players and beginner players that are coming to these type of games for the very first time. Picking heroes like Vivian or Isis and even Athena that we saw earlier on and Svarog are better choices for you, right? And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And then again, it's just down to your experience and what you want to do. So moving on to the next hero. Boom! Perrin! And this is one guy I really like. I really like Perrin, and you'll see why. Because his basic attacks, one enemy, 100% attack, 100% initiative, 2 times, but you have a 75% chance to place a speed down 2 buff on them, and that is crazy already, because there's a 20% decrease in speed stat, which means if they speed tuned their team, you could potentially really mess up their combo order, because they're out of turns now, which honestly will trigger so many people watching this video right now, right? On top of this, though, we've got the Lightning Strike, attacks all enemies, and for 300% attack and 300% initiative, so you definitely want to work on both of these stats. 100% chance when you max this out to reduce the turn meter of each target by 20%, which is, again, a very powerful ability that you can have in his kit. Ultimate attacks 7 times at random, and each time has a 50% chance at max to decrease the target's meter by 10%, and additional attacks against the same target reduces the turn meter by 5%. This ability is bonkers in the right scenarios, because what we have seen, especially in some of the weapons that you can be picking, is weapons in the epic category that says when you attack something, spread a buff. If you attack something, trigger a bleed or trigger an acid stack. Well, if I am able to trigger 7 instances of one of those buffs, it kind of gets out of control. Let's be honest. It's really out of control. If I'm able to attack and spread despair, I'm able to spread terrify, I'm able to spread any debuff in the game because of an epic ability, because I can hit them 7 times and try and get that going off. It is kind of ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, there's one hero that honestly can do this job maybe a little bit better, and we are getting very close to him, and you guys will know who it is. But this is one of those heroes that I think if you pick him up, like Pazuzu, it's one of those heroes that isn't beginner friendly, but is gonna be a monster. Because I had Perrin, and before Perrin, I literally replaced him for Apollo, which is, again, kind of a hard unit to use, but it's going to be a monstrous unit, right? And be honest, I think Perrin is one of those ones, depending on your playstyle, depending on what you want to do, he's going to be one of those that catches a lot of people out, and that is my humble opinion. If you pick him, don't be worried. Be excited for this absolute carnage of a hero that you're about to get out. Because honestly, I think this is going to do some stupid stuff in the game, right? To finish it off, his passive and his leader bonus, 25% initiative in arena battles. I'm not too fussed about that. But the passive is when an enemy has their turn meter decrease, you increase this hero's turn meter by 4%. So if you run Perrin and Izanagi in the same turn, for example, the enemy are just going to cry. I will be honest with you, they will cry at you. So Perrin, absolute monster hero. Full art for you guys there for the Pantheons, so you guys can take the screenshots. Let's move on to the final ones. We're on number 6, and again we've seen MrSneakyy. We actually played with him, as many people know, in the Godforge Alpha Wave 3 beta and beta alpha. And the Alpha Wave 3, he is honestly an all-star. We saw how powerful his basic ability was, because he can easily strong hit too, which is the way his sharpen ability works on his ultimate, which many people forgot that he had. I don't know why. But you're able to petrify enemies, which we've seen is super powerful from Athena. And the thing is, I'm going to tell you the sad truth. I think Athena's passive for Petrify is more easier to obtain than this basic. However, that's not what you're playing for. You're playing this hero, honestly, for those core and ultimates re-triggers, because this hero is just an absolute disgusting reviving support, right? His passive says, when this hero is defeated, you revive 2 allies with 50% HP and you increase their initiative by 5%. This stacks up to 3 times and it can occur once per wave. So basically, you can die in the first wave, come back, increase everyone's initiative by 5%, and then next wave do it again, and then do it again. So then when you go against like a boss, for example, you have 15% extra initiative on this hero and basically on stacks, right? That is great. And the fact that you can revive is great, right? What's really cool is the ultimate is only 1,000, one of the cheaper ones that you've seen in the, obviously, lists so far. And the fact that you place an attack up to, a sharpen up to, and an accuracy up to on all allies for 2 turns, and passively, you increase the ally with the highest turn meter by 50% when this hero divinity reaches 100%. Basically, what it says is, you get this ultimate, you don't need the buffs, don't worry about it. Your guy is starting to increase in turn meter and go faster and basically attack quicker. You need your ultimate, don't worry about it. You're about to receive, obviously, a 20%, a 40%, should I say, increase in attack, right? 40% increase in accuracy. And then sharpen down here, raising the crit damage and strong hit damage by 10%. And if I remember correctly with this, and this might be something the guys in the comments might want to double check on myself, I'm pretty certain either resistance, or I'm sure it's resistance, is the stat needed to increase the amount of strong hit chance that you can do too, which is really good. So you can basically hit someone quite hard and kind of get that going with the ultimate, and then the core coming in with the speed up 2 and the turn meter. Basically, how can I put Quetzalcoatl? I'm trying to explain Quetzalcoatl now with my brain, because he's one of those heroes that, for me, in the Alpha Wave 3, just allowed your team to work more efficiently. That is the best way of putting it, because no matter what the buff is, if it's a speed up 2 buff, you're going faster, meaning you're always going to be hopefully taking your turns first, comboing off and killing the enemy waves. If you use your ultimate, you're affecting all of the main 3 categories, which is attack up, which is obviously the main DPSs, accuracy up for the guys that need to place debuffs, and sharpen up 2 for maybe the DPS 2, not as powerful. And when you don't need it, you're increasing even further the turn meter. This turn meter manipulation you have is kind of disgusting, and until you play with it, I don't think you realize how good it is. He has a 10% heal as well on all attacks on his basic, which is really good. And if you guys are wondering, you can, if you use Shamash with Quetzalcoatl, which was a very powerful combo, you was able to basically joint attacks, AoE heal, then attack with Quetzalcoatl, AoE heal again. And if you keep doing it, guess what? It's going to keep going off. So he is a phenomenal hero. I can't lie. I honestly can't lie. So if you want to pick Quetzalcoatl, go for it, because he is easily top 3 invokers in my eyes in this game at the moment. He's an absolute beast. The cool little snake boy, the little snake with his wings gonna fly off in the distance. So we're on the final 5. final 5, and I know we're getting that hour and a half, but just think, guys, I've gone through 21 heroes here compared to 11, so hey, give me a round of applause that I'm smashing through these quicker. Going to Ra, and Ra is gonna be one of those heroes. He's not going to get too much of the spotlight. And we've played him with Alpha Wave 3. The basic is the same, I think. Attacks one enemy, 300% attack with 200% accuracy. This is because you need the accuracy in order to do the entire gimmick of Ra, which is Blaze. So you can place Blaze for 1 turn on his basic. You can place Blaze 2 for 3 turns on your Fires of Creation call. And then the Solar Convergence attacks all enemies 3 times, and each hit has a chance to place the defense down to and invulnerable to for 2 turns on the target. So the basic way of putting it is you are the glue for Blaze teams. That's kind of the way you want to look at Ra. I wouldn't pick Ra as a starting hero unless you want to go down the Blaze route. But even then, I still don't like it, because the thing is with Blaze, you really do need like Blaze-based heroes all together to really get it going, because Blaze as a debuff allows you to deal damage, but this is 4% of the enemy's max HP to all heroes on the team. If you're able to place Blaze and then trigger it and place Blaze and trigger it and place Blaze, that's when it gets kind of out of hand. And Ra is going to be the key piece in that puzzle. We saw it with YDG, which is the dragon from Alpha Wave 3, even with Bastet as well as an epic hero. Really fantastic for Blaze-based combat. Even Brunhild, which might catch a lot of you guys out, but if you are shielded or under Radiant, you're able to place Blaze, I think, on the targets, unless this has been changed since Alpha. So even that is a really good stepping stone, but you'll notice every single one I'm saying needs Blaze. And the starting heroes don't contain Blaze. You've got Acid, you've got Drain, and you've got Bleed through, obviously, the latest shot, Guan Yu, and Ramses at the moment. So you don't even have a starting hero to synergize with him, and that's another reason I wouldn't go for him. He is a Slayer as well. He does do a lot of damage, I will get you hands and credit for, but it's weird. I would rather go down the route of Hell than Ra, because I can honestly admit, like, her ultimate and her core actually can slap, and I don't need anyone else really in that team. She could be my single DPS carry, and it probably would help me through a lot of the content and get me through, you know, the gameplay, right? So Ra, unfortunately, even though he looks badass, I wouldn't recommend him for you guys in your Godforge quest minigame. Moving on to Shamash though, and this is arguably, I think, my favorite or second favorite hero of Alpha. Literally, the whole Alpha 1, 2, and 3 experience, Shamash is just too goddamn good. The thing is with Shamash, I was explaining this to some of the CHB guys, when you start to understand what this guy is all about, you can be a little bit more greedy, right? So his basic attack attacks one enemy, 150% attack. The ally with the lowest divinity will join in the attack, and you need to make sure that your Shamash does have some divinity. If he is on 0 and someone else is on 0, nothing will occur. So you need to make sure he's on at least 1% or more, and if he is, if anyone's on 0, they will start to join these attacks. That alone is insane, because you can get any of the heroes we've seen today in this video, and if you like their basic ability, this is going to take it to the next level. This is already one extension in his kit. So this is allowing you to run Anubis and basically try to kill someone a second time and get that second chance on that Despair lock. It lets you even run something like an Apollo. Why not? An Apollo could potentially either give you the acid trigger again or something else on his A1. You can honestly run so many heroes and combo them with his basic ability alone. It is an all-star skill. On top of this, if a target is under the Aetherburn effect, which is, again, a new keyword for this video, so again, just to show you guys what this does, this is increases the chance to weak hit by 10% and reduces the divinity by 6% on all heroes on the team, which is a huge debuff to slow them down again on their divinity gain, which is going to stop them from getting their ultimate. Huge, because the core ability does that. You attack one enemy for 240% attack. However, all allies join the attack, and like that is where things get broken, because you can imagine you've got Shamash with Ryujin and Fujin, for example, and these two Jin brothers are coming in and doing some absolute work. You could run Mulan and she's going to be able to double hit and start shredding the defense, right? You could do so many different hero combinations with Shamash and just get away with it. Even Q-Sakotl, which we saw earlier on, is just in an insanely powerful combo with Shamash if you can really manipulate the divinity meters of both of these guys, which you can easily do when you play this. On top of that, you have a 75% chance, which goes to 100, to place Aether Burn Tune on the target for 2 turns. So just to make it even better, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you get the Aether Burn on him, your basic ability gets you a reward for doing so, and you get joint attacks. Like, when you see how powerful joint attacks is, I think people realize Shamash is one of the top picks in my eyes that people can go for, right? The ultimate is revives a random ally 60% HP with 40% turn meter. Then you place Radiance 2 and an attack up 2 on all allies for 2 turns. That's a 40% increase in attack, and that reflect and reduce incoming damage by 20%, which is just nuts. And then you also heal all allies 15% of their maximum HP, and if they've got already maximum HP, don't worry about it, because 50% of it goes on as a shield basically for any of the excess healing that you did. So it's just so much value. And what makes Shamash like insane is the bottom line of text, because the first time an ally is killed in battle, no matter what, you gain full divinity and you activate the ultimate. What this means is if you go against a Shamash team, you need to kill Shamash. No matter what, if you use any of your core abilities, any of your ultimates, anything to kill anything but Shamash, Shamash basically gives you a net 1, right? A -1. Like, you are -1 in maybe card advantage as a very good way of explaining it, right? As a correlation, because he's just gonna, oh, you kill my Q-Sakotl? Come back up, brother. Don't you worry. Wait, you killed my Grendel? Don't you worry, brother. Come back up, right? So honestly, he is just an insane hero in every regards. His passive is when an ally joins this hero's attack, you increase their divinity by 100 points. That is, again, just insane, because all of his kit's about joining attacks. There's imprints like Sun Wukong's, which give you a 25% in joint attacks too, which is just going to increase their divinity as well. Shamash is top tier, honestly. Bonkers hero. And the one thing you'll start to realize with Shamash, and I don't want to give it too much away here, but he is the one support out of any of the supports that allows you to play a lot more greedier and a lot more offensive compared to the others. And just remember that if you pick him, because you'll start to unlock the secrets and the power of this man. He is an absolute beast, right? So that is Shamash, the 4th hero, and 3 left to go. So we're almost there. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video, guys. I know it's a long one, but you guys obviously want to get my opinion and as much information on how I think about these heroes and what I'm actually liking about them, right? So Sun Wukong, this is now the guy we was talking about a little bit earlier on. If you remember what we said in the video, there's one hero that might be able to do Perrin's job better, and this might be him. Sun Wukong, the one slayer that I will confidently say, pick him and don't worry about it. He is easily the best slayer out of any of the options we've seen so far. This is because basic ability attacks one enemy, 310% attack, which is great scaling, increases this hero's divinity by 5%, but if joining an attack, you increase the divinity by an additional 5%, and you also mirror one random buff from the target. So what that means, I can guess already, is if your ally has an attack 2 buff on him, when you get this effect on, you copy that buff and mirror it for this attack from that target, right? And then it's going to be gone, basically, right? That's kind of crazy. That's so crazy when you think about that, right? How that actually works. And Spinning Gale places an attack up 2 on his hero for 2 turns, attacks all enemies for 180% attack, which is great, for 2 times. But then for each buff on this hero, you increase the damage inflicted by 10%. And we have seen already so many heroes, like I've mentioned already, that can place multiple buffs, and he does it himself, and he mirrors. So this is going to go kind of out of control, right? So this just allows you to just AoE clear, single target hit and bonk like you want, and to finish it off, the ultimate attack, 72% attack. I know it sounds weird, but it's 8 times at random. He literally beats per run by 1 attack. It's insane. And each attack has a 50% chance when you maxes to heal this hero for 8% of the damage inflicted, and you decrease the target that you're hitting by 8%. And if a target is hit more than 5 times, an additional hit is inflicted by 50% reduced damage. So basically, when you start going over the limit, it reduces it, which is fair enough against, obviously, bosses, because bosses do not want to get 8-hit comboed. I can tell you that. And already, I will tell you, and this is going to be in my combo video, and I know many people haven't really talked about it, but fair play to them. Sun Wukong is one of the most versatile DPSs you will ever experience in this game. He does an absurd amount of damage, and what's really good about him is if you don't want to go the damage route, you don't have to. The fact that he attacks all enemies 2 times, right, is kind of insane on his AoE, because you get to run crazy epic and legendary weapons that allow you to steal buffs or spread buffs or trigger different debuffs on the enemies. And he can enable that. He can honestly enable so many clever play styles. It is unreal. And that is just this one hero on his own. And I know we've gone through a lot, and I haven't gone as crazy, because don't get me wrong, they can do the same thing. But this is like that one DPS that feels like if you really understand and figure out what you're able to do in the game with imprints and weapons and combos, Wukong as a DPS is going to allow you to do it. So I do think out of any of the DPS, Wukong is the number 1 and safest pick for anyone, because you get to do heavy DPS builds, but you also get to do fun and massive, crazy, potentially, you know, disable and buff, you know, builds and stuff. It's just crazy. His passive is placing more on this hero for 2 turns when receiving fatal damage. So whenever Wukong would die, don't worry about it. You get immortal for him for 2 turns, so he ain't dying. And then you have a 50% chance also to join ally attacks, and we've already seen how powerful that is. So if you've got Wukong and any other hero in the game that we've talked about in this video, and they attack, he has a 50% chance joining in that attack. Things are getting out of hand, right? Things are really getting out of hand. So this is one of the heroes, no matter what, if we go through all of their buffs, we go through all of the debuffs in this game, honestly, he can work with all of them, and because of that reason, I have to recommend him, right? If you've got Sun Wukong as a hero locked in, and people are telling you to maybe get rid of it for a support, don't worry about it. He is gonna absolutely wreck people, and the only thing you're gonna have to do, as you can imagine, is find a Tristane, find obviously something like a Soldi, maybe find Shishi and get Shishi in there with Wukong, and start going absolutely crazy on these guys. I'll be honest with you. So moving on to the second to last one, my girl Vivian. Oh boy, did I warn all of you guys about this hero, and I said it already. she is going to be one of the best supports in the game. And she is easily one of the best supports in the game. It is disgusting how good this hero is. And before, we only saw the core and ultimate, and it seemed like I was the only one really proper ranting and raving about her. And then everyone saw a basic and then got sold on it. And I actually think the basic is good, which we'll go over, because it is going to reduce the divinity cost by an ally by 15 amount, right? This stacks up to 10 times, so you reduce the divinity cost by 150. So that means when you see that number, 1,650, well, that's only 1,500 now. And if you have other guys that are like Wukong, which we've just seen, he's 1,200. That means with Vivian, he's 1,050. That is a fast amount of uptime on these abilities. However, we have seen someone else in another video that, let's be honest, is probably the king of divinity management, right? So that's the only thing with that. It is a very powerful basic ability by no means, but it's not matching the main man, the myth, the legend in the other video, right? So really powerful basic. The core is a 6-3, place attack up 2, defense up 2 on all allies for 2 turns, and then you increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. And I said it before and I'll say it again, this is game breaking. This allows you to do stupid stuff in the game, and I'm going to tell you now, I am going to be hunting for Vivian and Apollo, and I will break this game, because if I am able to extend my buffs by 1 turn, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown, so that buys me a turn, and then I can use Apollo to reduce this down, so now it's only on a 2-turn cooldown, I am always going to make sure my heroes, no matter what, infinitely have these buffs on them as high as possible, and it's gonna get out of hand. So honestly, Vivian, if you pick her, you're in good hands again. I don't have to say anything else. Anyone will tell you that. You remove all disables from all allies. You also remove all debuffs from allies in the Avalon faction. So if you start with like an Isolde and a Tristane and stuff, that's going to actually be beneficial to you, because guess what? That's going to get removed all their debuffs, so they get a value out of it. Then you attack one enemy for 175% and 1,000% initiative, when with all allies joining the attack too, and then if the target is defeated, you get that turn meter of 20%. So to me, she is basically as good, honestly, as Shamash. I think Shamash and Vivian are fucking on par with each other for different reasons that people don't realize. Shamash is gonna allow you to damage extend a lot more. Being able to basic attack, joint attack, and do it on your core, and basically keep everyone up with your ultimate is insanity. But what Vivian does is, obviously, it lets you do some craziness. She's kind of, I wouldn't say the jack of all trades, but she is, right? She gives you attack and defense up, which is great, 40% extra more. She's then extending any buffs. Say if you had Sharpen, Immortal, Phoenix, you name it. Guess what? 1 extra turn of that, right? And then what's beautiful is the fact that you get this joint attack. So if you did run any sort of hero with a good basic ability and you got her ultimate up, you're gonna be absolutely doing some devastating combos. Just even with like an Anubis, right? As we saw earlier on, he could just despair lock someone instantly, their team, if he joins an attack and this ultimate kills them, right? Passive is allies inflict 20% increased damage with their basic abilities, and this is doubled in joining attacks. So if you've not guessed it, having Vivian, having Shamash together with 2 other heroes of your choice, obviously this is going to be super hard to find, but if you find that, oh boy, is this gonna get out of hand. I am telling you, I have already cooked up a Invoker team, if you've not guessed it, and it seems kind of disgusting on paper, so I can't wait to try it out. So Vivian, if you guys have not seen her, here she is. She is the one, and she is the G, one of the best heroes, I honestly think, in the entire game. The only thing letting her down, and this is the only thing letting her down, is the 20 6% speed in arena battles, but it does mean if you fight in arena, you do want to put her most likely in that primary slot, unless you have a better speed bonus for other players. Apart from that, you don't have to worry about it. You can find better leader bonuses and put them on, because there's only arena, right? So the final thing we need to work on, the last hero, and I want to say thank you to all the guys that have been watching this entire video. And again, if you want to maybe help the channel, smash a like, comment, and subscribe now. You can obviously check out the links down in the description for any of the merch that even I'm wearing, and I've got my own creator code. And if you want to join a cool pantheon with people like myself and other content creators that are going to give you as much information and opinions to help you make your decisions, check out Camp Half-Blood's Discord down below, right? So to finish it off, let's get into the fun one, the final one. Mr. Wang, it's Mr. Wang. I love it. I love Mr. Wang. He's such a funky hero, and attacks all enemies on his basic ability, which is already fantastic. I like that already other than a disruptor hero, but he has a 50% chance to place speed down 2 on each target. Now that is super powerful, and because it's an AoE ability, we can understand why it's a 50% attack, right? And this is what I'm talking about earlier on with like Hades attacking one enemy and getting a 50% chance to put them to sleep, while my boy Mr. Wang is doing a whole AoE. And I get to speed down to you as well. Like, yeah, nah. Like, that's so much better. Like, I love this hero compared to him. And the Dreadful Omen core attacks one enemy, 280%, 250% initiative, 100% chance when you max this out to place a random defense down 2, attack down 2, accuracy down 2, or resistance 2. So if you can imagine the box of what you need to survive, I'm picking one of them and you're not liking it because I'm going to reduce it. And that is a 2-turn timer on it. That's actually insane. I really like that. I actually really like it. I don't think this is a hero, by the way, for Godforge Quest before we get any further, because already looking at the kit, I'm not liking that overall. But I do think this is a really good hero. Attacks all enemies, 220%, 220% initiative 2, 50% chance to lock the core and the passive. Ooh. Ooh. Locking passives is interesting, because some of the best heroes like Vivian have a really good passive, right? Vivian has a good passive, Sun Wukong has a good passive, Shamash has a really good passive. Like, a lot of people have really good passives, and if I can turn that off for 2 turns, even Quetzalcoatl, that means they can't revive and get 2 people back. That is huge. So already, my thoughts on Mr. Wang. Fully now we can see his kit, his passive and leader bonus down there as well. When an enemy defeated, increases hero's initiative by 10%, goes up to 50% when it's max stacked. Really good. I actually like this hero. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what team I'm going to use him in. And I don't know what content I'm going to use him in apart from PvP. I think you're looking at the PvP Disruptor All-Star, and that's my opinion, because we get to attack specific enemies that we need to with the core ability, which is like your key targets. That's really important, and you might hit them with the right debuff that you need, right? But the fact that with your basic ability alone, you can hit a massive speed down 2. So if he is your very first, imagine you speed 2 in your team, Mr. Wang here, #1 speed demon, goes first. He should enable your team to basically have more speed because he's reduced your enemy speed and keep going in that PvP war. So I think PvP is where I'm actually seeing Mr. Wang actually to go on, which is quite cool. And I'm actually going to look forward to using him in PvP. So I don't think this is, again, a hero you get for Godforge Quest, but let's be real. That is a really cool kit. I actually really like this hero. So just for everyone to finish off the video as we get there, here we go, Mr. Wang, the final hero. So what I will do just for everyone, like I did with the last video, I know it's been a long one. We've gone through 21 different heroes. I'm just going to go through quick pass or trash kind of give you an understanding of all 21 heroes and give you a quick summary and see what there is, right? So when we go to Mr. Wang, would not get this hero just because he's more PvP based. You can pick better heroes. Anubis, actually one of the contenders if you choose to go down a spicy route. Anubis is actually a monstrous hero. He actually does a ton of damage, and that despair lock is very, very powerful for you. So if you do want to go down it, I'm not going to shout at you. I might have to help you, obviously, making content and how you could really make this work, but just remember to get Anubis's full potential. Getting joint attacks is key, so just remember that when it comes to picking weapons or imprints. Athena, I actually think, is an all-star. In today's video, if you want any safe tank, this is the safest tank. She is going to give you Petrify whenever you get attacked under a shield. She gives, out of all of the heroes that I've seen in the game, the biggest shield, and it increases your damage reduction by 15%, which is huge. Makes her a massive one, and depending on how this works, that ultimate might be an insane scaler for damage bosses. So I actually really like Athena. If you've got her, you're in safe hands. Moving to Dracula, this is going to be one that is going to be more tailored to the super spices. These are the guys that are going undercover. They are the ninjas in the basements, and they really want to be basically part of the Odd One team, right? Odd One and his army of Draculas, and that is basically what this is going to be. If you run Lady Shock in the starting heroes, Dracula will be a perfect kind of team to pick, but I would not recommend this for the large majority of players, right? Freya, on the other hand, I would. Freya is actually a really good hero, so if you want to pick Freya up, I would not obviously shake that down. Fantastic hero to pick as one of your legendary options. And if you've got this hero and someone else that I've said that's really good, remember the Godforge Discord does help you pick with people's giving you different choices. Grendel, another one. Actually, I would pick Grendel. I know a lot of people will be like, really? You picking a brawler? I actually would. This is one of those heroes, when I'm looking at him, is giving me Zeus 1.0 vibes, right? While Zeus is Zeus 2.0, let's be real, right? This could get, depending how good you can scale him up with the HP and the attack, and how you can gear him and use maybe joint attacks or whatever it needs to be. This rampage would be endless, and I think it's going to be a really fun video, especially for content creators like myself to make. I can't wait to make a Grendel video, right? Hades is one, I'll be honest with you, I would not recommend. Really cool hero. It's going to be really good in certain areas, but I just do not like him for people to pick up on. Going on to Heimdall, again, actually a really good defender, probably better than Anu as well. Probably in the same league again with Athena. The only difference is this is one of those heroes that you do need to get kind of a little bit of a feel for. Early game, he's not insane. He's actually suited for that mid to end game when you've scaled up and you've really going against the insane hard content. That's when you see Heimdall at his best, and anyone will tell you that. So if you do pick Heimdall, just remember the maybe stagnant early adventure that you might have, but you are in safe hands. Hell is going to be the kind of one of the DPSs that if you do want to pick a DPS, I would actually recommend. I know a lot of people don't like her. I get it. It's a really weird hero, and you need to be maybe, you know, in the Upside Down from Stranger Things to really understand her. But it's one of those things that, honestly, she does pack a huge punch, right? I wouldn't recommend Slayers in general, but look, she is one that I can happily say if you go for her, I can see why, right? It's not going to be obviously my recommendations, but I can see why, because she is still good enough to be picked, right? Hercules, we don't worry about. Isis is one we do worry about. I think Isis is probably one of the top 3 Invoker picks that you can get in the game. She is absolutely bonkers for many people, and many people will enjoy picking her up, so don't worry. If you picked her, you're in good hands. Loki, kind of similar to Hercules, it just doesn't hit the bill, maybe for PvP, but for me at the moment, not the bill. MrSneakyy, right? So this is a hero that I will say I wouldn't pick in the game, but for my Godforge mini quests. But please keep an eye out on her, because I actually think she's a really good hero. She's going to be probably the premium support for certain content because of that destroyed HP and the way the core and ultimate and passives really do work together in the right teams. I actually think she's a fantastic little invoker you've got there. Mulan is going to be a good DPS, but I don't think this is a DPS I would pick. I honestly think you would pick Hell over Mulan, but there is also two better kind of candidates for DPS that you can pick as well. Moving to Pazuzu as one of those DPSs, I honestly would pick Pazuzu over any of the other DPS we've seen in the game so far. That's just because, again, of the way the basic, core, and ultimate work. It just allows you to take advantage of your starting heroes like Lady Shock and Ramses with the Vulnerable 2 and Acid and Curse 2 triggers that you've got on him. Plus, the passive is very powerful. It's going to be good anywhere you really go. So again, I think Pazuzu is going to catch people off guard on how great this disruptor is. Perun, another really good disruptor, maybe not going to be on everyone's radar, but I think he does a good amount of damage. And what's really good is, compared to a lot of the other heroes on the list that we've seen, he is one of the only big multi-hitters. So he hits 7 times, which could be really important in the right bosses and in certain playstyles like buff spreading or buff debuff spreading as well. This is really important because of his basic slash and his ultimate being able to do that, right? So not too shabby. I actually would recommend Perun if you want a bit more of a harder challenge and maybe a different playstyle than the most of the people would be recommending. Quetzalcoatl, just like Isis, just like the other heroes on this list, you are safe with Quetzalcoatl. I can't say anything else. Literally, you are safe with the snake. Ra, I really want to put Ra as a recommendation, but I just can't, honestly. He is the glue for Blaze teams, but I think he's going to be one of those heroes that you'd rather try and find and summon once you found some of the Blaze pieces in the compositions. Going into Shamash, I would honestly maybe put him in my top picks with Apollo, Shamash, and you probably guessed it, Vivian, that's coming around the corner as the craziest invokers I honestly love in this game. They fit my playstyle so much. So if you've got him, don't worry about it. Sun Wukong, the #1 DPS, easily as the choice for anyone. He just does everything. Multi-hits, AoE hits, can do different playstyles. Again, super burst heavy comps, all because of the multi-attacks and the AoE multi-attacks. He can actually do some debuff spreadings, debuff activations as well, which we will go through in future videos. Vivian, queen of the invokers. I'm going to call her the queen. She is just that good of a invoker. So if you pick her, you're good as well. And then to finish it off, Yan Wang. Don't worry about this hero. You're going to probably pick him up through summons. And I think in the PvP realm, he is going to be fantastic, right? So that is all the heroes there. I know it's another long video, but you guys really enjoy the longer videos because you can just listen to them as you work away. And hopefully I'm giving you guys a little bit more advice. Don't worry, in the future, I will go through every single one of these heroes in their own individual hero, including the previous heroes that we've done in the other video, which is, I believe, over 32 legendary heroes that we're going to be bringing to the channel. And that's going to be singular compositions, so you know what kind of teams you want to be looking for, you know what types of heroes you're going to be aiming to kind of combo with, you know what weapons and imprints that's going to combo with each one of these guys. So that's going to be coming up on the channel. So if you want to see that, you know what to do. Smash like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, stay safe, stay stinky. Peace out.